Hi there, it's Ruth here at Artful Stampin. So I'm going to show you in this video how I made this adorable little album. I made it for a little boy who's turned 1, and it's kind of really a gift for the parents to fill and put some photographs in it. So there's no words in it, it's just a little kind of folio album. And if you want to see how I made it, please do go ahead and watch the rest of the video. So I'm going to show you how it opens. So I've got a panel on the left side that's a little bit thinner than this panel here. This one opens top like so, then across. Oh no, sorry, pulled it the wrong direction. This one goes across in this direction, and this one goes across in that direction. So it's kind of like a big open, it opens up sideways like that. And I've deliberately put a little bit of a margin there so that that lies nicely on top, because I anticipate photographs going in there, and then it has magnets as a closure to pull that together. Then this one opens to the side first, and then basically we just kind of take it in turns to open it. So it's like an explosion style box, but without the box lid. It's just an album that opens like so. So this took probably in all a couple of hours to make. I'm going to be showing you the speeded up version of the video, and attempt to put measurements in as well. If you do have any questions after you've seen this video, do let me know, and I'll be pleased to help you. Anyway, enjoy. So I've used some old packaging here. It's grey, like a grey board, and you can either upcycle, or you can buy it specifically for this, but I like to try and upcycle things in my stash. So I cut it down to 5 inches, and then cut it at 4 inches, then another inch, and then another 4 inches. So 4, 5, and then 9. And then flipped it over and did the same again, 4, 5, and 9 inches, so that it would fall apart, because the Stampin' Up! Trimmer blade won't go all the way through the grey board. You need to kind of flip it over and cut in exactly the same spot. And then I just stuck it down onto some DSP that I'd cut from a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. 12 by 12 piece of DSP in half. So it's just 6 by 12. And I liked working on this smaller sized album because I knew that the paper would fit to cover the whole outer kind of shell of the album. After sticking the grey board onto the DSP, score along the edges of the board to make it easier to fold the DSP in on itself. It's just to help the paper know what it's supposed to be doing, and yeah, it just makes it easier to stick down. So when you're sticking the outer DSP down, make sure you put a good amount of glue because you really don't want that to shift around too much. And then you can pull the sides up, and always remember to leave a small margin between the pieces of the grey board when you stick it down, because that allows for the movement of it to come back up. So then I cut a piece of DSP that was just under the size of the full piece, if that makes sense. And I like to choose a nice contrasting colour against the outer cover. I just think it's nice and bright and cheery. And because this was for a boy, I wanted to keep the colours pretty neutral, so I went with blues and yellows and a hint of green in there too. So always take time with your bone folder to really push down the paper and make sure it's glued on really, really well, because when you pull the sides up, or when you close the book, the paper wants to kind of fight against itself. So then I created a sort of pop out, sort of semi-explosion style mechanism, and I cut pieces of cardstock that were 3 inches wide and about 4.5 inches long, and then just created extra pieces so that it would fold out with hinges, starting off with maybe 1/4 of an inch and then building up to getting wider up to about 1/2 an inch. And I've demonstrated this technique before on a video, so if you do have any questions, please let me know. Then what you'll see me do is I add DSP that's 1/4 of an inch shorter all the way around. So where the piece of card was 3 by 4.5, I then cut the DSP to 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. So here I'm just sticking all the various panels together to create that explosion style. And as you probably saw, I nearly forgot to just snip the little edges underneath the hinge, just to make it sit a bit nicer on the cardstock. So it's worth doing that, just getting the scissors out and just snipping them so they're nice and neat. I decided to add another layer to the explosion part of the folio album, and I think I scored this with maybe a 3/4 of an inch, or maybe just under 3/4 of an inch spine. I was just really aware that because I'd already made the cover with a 1-inch spine, I didn't want to allow just this portion to take over half the album. So but I did realise that I'd have to make the other side a bit thinner for it all to fit well. But it was kind of fun just to keep adding all those extra layers, and I just thought it'd be nice. It's almost like, when you're opening it up, it's like unwrapping loads of layers and you're not quite sure when it's all going to end. So I just thought it was a fun thing to do. If you're wondering why I'm sticking 2 extra layers of cardstock onto the back of this section, it's because the pieces that are stuck around the side, I've stuck 2 of them, so it's 2 inches thicker, almost like a frame around it. And so in order for it not to sink when it's stuck in, I like to stick just some scrap pieces of card that's exactly the same thickness as the cardstock I was using. Incidentally, I am using Stampin' Up's Basic White, which is their thinner card than their thick one, because I find it's just a nice weight. It's sturdy enough to stick the DSP on, but it's not so thick that it's taking up lots of room. So yeah, it's just great cardstock. So for the opposite side, I decided to have 2 sections that opened up to the left and to the right, and just use the length of our cardstock and just scored at every 3 inches, just to create a kind of concertina effect, which I really liked. And when I gave the gift to the mum of the child, she said, oh, something about putting a photo for each month of the year. And I've realised now that, of course, you know, on each side it had 3 sections. Well, on the other side there's another 3, and then on the left hand side that makes 6, and on the right hand side that makes 6. So if you are considering making this for parents of a child who may record every month of their child's life, then, you know, you could maybe put numbers on there to indicate that, or just, you know, let them know that that's what they could do. So I really like that idea. And she also mentioned that her sister loves using her kind of Polaroid instant camera, and so they would be perfect sizes to go, or perfect size photographs to go into those sections. So yeah, I just like the way this kind of all worked out. And as I said earlier, I created a bit of a margin on the right hand panel so that it would sit a little bit higher than the left hand one, because once all the photos go in, it's all going to thicken up, and so you just need to give that card a bit of breathing space for the photographs to sit in nicely. thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope it's inspired you to make a little mini album all of your own. Now, I don't think I may have filmed this section, but I tried to film it, but it didn't end up filming. I ended up putting this album in one of the little boxes that Stampin' Up sold a few years ago, and it just fitted absolutely perfectly inside it. So it was their pizza style boxes, but so I think they called them postal boxes, because they measured just over 5 by 3.5 inches, which just was amazingly perfect. So I'm going to keep hold of my little boxes, because I've got another one of these to make for another little boy. And yeah, I really enjoy doing it. So keep nagging me if you want better measurements, or if you'd like a tutorial on this one, because it's one of those kind of quick projects that, you know, if you haven't got hours and hours, but you've got a couple of hours to spare to make something, a nice keepsake gift, then this is kind of perfect. So I added this lovely ribbon around the edge, and then stuck a letter of the initial of the child's name, and just layered it up and had that on the front, and then just created a little section at the back to hold the ribbon in place. I just stuck another layer using up the scraps. I just layered up rectangles of DSP. So there we have it. Leave a comment below as to what you think of this little project, and hopefully I'll get to see you guys very, very soon. Take care for now.